The biggest question, a big debate is what happens to the dollar. The U.S. builds a strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's one critic who's been out saying that this is a terrible signal that the United States would be giving to the world that they don't have, that we as a government don't have confidence in our own currency anymore. But the main reason for building a strategic Bitcoin reserve, according to Senator Lummis, is in fact making the dollar stronger. Where do we come out on this?
Yeah, there is an argument out there that a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve would signal fear about the future of the dollar, and the market would take that badly. I think that's a very defeatist argument. Like, if you take it to its conclusion, then why should we do anything about our kind of fiscal recklessness? So, currencies are famously an ugly contest, or to change the metaphor, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun the guy next to you. So I've always said that Bitcoin is more appropriate for emerging and frontier markets who often don't have control over their own currency or have structurally weak currencies. If the U.S. jumpstarts, a global strategic reserve for Bitcoin adoption, we would just be cementing, our kind of fiscal or monetary dominance. So yeah, I don't love that argument that we should just do nothing and see what happens.
It does seem to me that if you put an asset on your balance sheet that grows rapidly, you're strengthening your balance sheet. That should strengthen the currency associated with your country.
Well, I think you can flip it and say, do people believe in the dollar already? And there's a lot of countries around the world who, without us doing anything with Bitcoin, already are talking about getting off the dollar, using other assets, et cetera.
Building gold reserves.
Yeah. And so, I think that there's some questions there that exist even before the Bitcoin thing. The second thing is we can look at the historical trend, which is that as Bitcoin has gotten stronger, so has the dollar in terms of its percentage of international trade, in terms of kind of relative strength to other fiat currencies that maybe aren't as strong. And so I tend to believe that things in motion stay in motion. If Bitcoin and dollar are both working together, you add in things like the stable coins that are really driving dollar adoption globally, et cetera. I just think that it's really hard to make an argument that, one trend will continue and the other one's going to do a 180. But I think, it's kind of where the theory and reality are going to come together. And although not a great answer, we may just have to run the experiment to find out.
This show is being brought to you by our sponsor, Trueflation. Professional investors and economists, and probably any casual observers, know that government inflation statistics are only an approximation of what real inflation is. Not only that, but the government has a conflict of interest because high inflation can be so damaging to the economy, the deficit, and our $34 trillion in debt. Trueflation collects over 13 million pricing data points. Most are updated daily to reveal inflation with precision for asset managers, governments, companies, and the general public. Check them out at trueflation.com. We're proud to be sponsored by Foundation. They've created Passport, one of the top-rated Bitcoin hardware wallets, proudly made in the USA. It's fully open source and air-gapped, meaning your Bitcoin stays completely offline and secure. The shocking Bybit exchange hack shows why holding some Bitcoin offline diversifies risk. Now they're launching Passport Prime, your all-in-one solution for not only Bitcoin, but all passwords and 2FA security. Head to foundation.xyz to secure your digital future.
One of the most persistent relationships over time for currencies is just simply looking at the relative GDP of the country. So, what are the big currencies? There's dollar, and then there's yen, euro, and pound. And Japan, EU, and Great Britain continue to lose relative GDP share to USD, or US economy, and emerging markets. So the forward performance of those currencies seems to us to be pretty much baked in the cake. And the question is, what's going to fill the void and take market share? Is it going to be RMB? Is it going to be Indian rupee? Is it going to be Bitcoin? Those are the choices that we can collectively make. our argument is that it's better for America if it's Bitcoin, because we can at least capture some of the Bitcoin denominated GDP that will occur.
Well, and that touches on a related subject of dollar as a reserve currency. And there's plenty of worry among some people that a strong Bitcoin threatens the dollar's position as a reserve currency. What do you think of that?
People seem to still want dollars, even though Bitcoin's winning.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just repeat that argument. Like, it's going to be yen, pound, and euro that lose share more. So there can be more than one winner.
I totally agree. A number of my podcasts have been with people who talk about the reserve currency, and it's based much more on the network effect and the overall size of global trade that's conducted in that currency that solidifies its position. But if we continue to run our fiscal house in the way we have been, there's a long-term certainty that it will be eroded. And perhaps in the long term, maybe there is an issue, but certainly not in the near term.
Well, there's an issue right now anyways, over the long run. And so I think the question just becomes, are you going to do something about it or are you not? And there's a lot of people I think believe just like inaction is the best plan. But there's a lot of other people who say, well, we should do something.
If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, and leave any comments you might have. You might also want to check out some of my other interviews. We try to dig into the problems that make Americans so pessimistic about the next generation, but we also interview people whose work doesn't get the headlines, but they make life better for society every day. Given humanity's steady progress over the last 275 years, it's likely that there's never been a better time to have been born than today. Join us for perspectives on today's challenges and opportunities.